Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. It's the time of year for termite swarmers. I like we're saying the word swarmers. Termite swarmers to be buzzing around, and while you might spray them and kill them if you see them in your home or around your home, yeah, you'll kill them, but the problem is if you got swarmers around your house, that means there's probably already a colony there eating your home. You need to call Southeast Termite and Pest Control if you see Swarmer 1. SoutheastTermite.com is the website. You learn more about this family-owned business. I use them to protect my home. You should too. Southeast Termite and Pest Control. All right, we've got plenty more stuff to come. UT's undrafted free agent deals, we'll track those. A look at next year's draft possibilities, even some Peyton Manning stuff later. But let's talk different draft facts quickly here. First of all, Ohio State this year tied Tennessee in 2000 and Southern Cal in 2008 by having 7 total picks in the first 2 rounds. Tennessee in 2000 with 7 in the first 2 rounds. The irony is that the number 7 pick for Ohio State was Chattanooga's Von Bell, who, if Butch Jones gets here maybe a week earlier, or if Derek Dooley had deigned to meet, perhaps he would have wound up at Tennessee and would have been that 7th guy for Ohio State. But I wanted to, well, we'll get to, there's a Dooley issue, and I'm going to let Vince handle it, but hang on with me just for a second. We'll get there. SEC led the nation again in picks. Let's go ahead and put that up. All right, there it is by conference. SEC 51, Big Ten with 47 now. Big Ten isn't supposed to have those. They don't have that kind of a recruiting base. Is that a sign that Big Ten money and big name coaches are closing the gap, or is that a one-year blip?
Rutgers and Maryland brought a lot of draftees there. That's the way I read it.
Okay.
You know, I think the gap's always relatively close. I mean, you go up and down 5 players. I mean, say SEC had 5 more. The big. I just think it's always. I think it's going to be close.
The SEC almost doubled everybody.
Yeah,
that was the other exception to the rule.
A lot of
go ahead.
A lot of that I'm going to attribute to Urban Meyer.
That's exactly right.
And the players at Ohio State and how that skews the numbers. And you bring him in, and now you got Harbaugh at Michigan. I mean, I think it's happening in the Big Ten like it was going on in the SEC, kind of in the 2000s.
Yeah, you got Von Bell and the Big Ten total, and not the SEC total for.
Yeah.
And there's probably other guys.
And you look at what Michigan spent. Again, I don't know that Michigan spends that if they're not making the kind of money they're making. I mean, there's talk about the SEC and the Big Ten. We've talked about the Power 5 conferences. It's really going to be the Power 2, and then the other 3, and then the group after that, because the SEC and Big Ten are running away. I think the Big Ten is closing the gap a little bit, but even with the satellite camps we'll discuss later, as long as the SEC is sitting on the most fertile ground for college football recruiting, I think that what you saw there, I think, is an exception. I don't think the Big Ten is going to be, on average, within 5 picks of you, but we'll see. All right, next, early entries into the draft. There were 96 guys. That was the most ever, I think. 96 left early this year. 66 of them were drafted. 30 of the 96 were not drafted. That is the largest percentage yet of guys who left early and did not get drafted. And you can draw it back to 2 guys here. Marquez North left early, didn't get drafted. We'll discuss where he landed in the next segment. So you're saying, okay, well, you should come back. Well, a guy who came back, then got hurt, didn't get drafted, could have been drafted if he'd left last year after an 11-sack season. It's Kurt Magid. So you've got a perfect example at Tennessee this year of a guy who should have stayed. Perfect example at Tennessee of a guy who should have left. Vince, the Magid North thing, I know you wanted to make a point on Derek Dooley. I'll toss it to you with that discussion of Marquez North, Kurt Magid.
Yeah, and first of all, I think I said that Magid should have come back because I think it would have helped him long term had he stayed healthy and proven himself to stay healthy through a football season. So that's what I thought. But as far as Derek Dooley, everyone puts this completely in the lap of Derek Dooley. And look, it was bad. Leading a program and recruiting just wasn't up to par. But this isn't all 100% Derek Dooley. Some of this is circumstance, and some of this is Butch Jones's players. Marquez North, Owen Williams, they were Butch Jones signees. Kurt Magid getting hurt and not getting drafted, he was a Derek Dooley player. That's not on Dooley. And then there were 3 pretty significant players that decided to come back. that did not get drafted. So that goose egg is not 100% in the lap of Dooley. And if they would have had players drafted that were Derek Dooley players, they would have been coached up by Butch Jones, and he would have gotten the credit. And the other way around, it's not the same. So it's just not 100% the lap of Dooley.
Okay, make it 99%.
I agree it's not 100%, but but it is a large chunk. I would say I wouldn't go as far as 99%.
No, not
Again, the chart we showed, you have had a talent decline at this school going back
Yes.
about 15 years. You may not like that, but it's a fact. You can watch it. So there's a lot of people that played into it. It got worse. It kept getting worse. And Dooley played a big role in it. But I agree it's not 100% his fault. So to say, well, it's all Dooley,
No.
that excuses a lot of other things. There were other people who took their eye off the ball. So
Yeah, and it's going to change, and we're going to talk
Yeah.
about that. It absolutely will change because there's a ton of talent on this team.
what I want to talk to you guys about next, though, a new poll and website has put out a new poll that puts Tennessee at number 13 in the nation next year. So I went back and looked at the last 4 number 13 in the nation teams to see how that kind of year plays out. We'll show you what that is, and then we'll see whether or not these folks think that'll be enough to satisfy everyone. Come on back on the Sports Source.